Kingdom.
All right, brother Israel. Who do you believe the servant is in Isaiah 53, brother?
Israel.
Okay, so it's not Jesus and it's not the prophets.
No.
Okay, so has Israel done violence?
So I would like to just talk about the text in question, right? Where we can see that what we can agree on at
You
least
can
is
talk
that
about whatever you want after you answer what he just
we
asked
can
you.
we can agree on that Isaiah said that the servant
Israel
was
bound.
Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
Did you
up?
hear what he asked you first?
King. Let me just. I want to make sure you're able to adequately represent your thoughts, but I think to save
You ain't got to
time,
worry about
I'm
that.
yeah, but real quick though, King. I think let's just establish a quick baseline. I don't deny that the nation of Israel is called the servant of God throughout the book of Isaiah. But you would
Right.
also agree that there are individuals throughout the book of Isaiah, Isaiah himself being one of them, who's called God's servant, right?
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Okay, so if we both agree that contextually throughout the book of Isaiah, depending on context, the servant can be either referring to an individual, an example being Isaiah or Cyrus, or the nation of Israel itself. I'm asking you in Isaiah 53, if you're positing that servant is the nation of Israel, has Israel done violence?
Of course they have.
Okay. The issue with your understanding then, in verse 9, it says, and he, this servant, made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death because he had done no violence.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So what I'm trying to get at is that we could both go to those type of tactics and, uh, and have, somebody in a problematic situation. Just like if I asked you in verse 10, where is the seed that Jesus is supposed to have, right? So again, right? The question is that from, I don't know, maybe Isaiah 41, I think Isaiah repeatedly tells us who the servant is up until, maybe chapter 49. But let's say when we get to chapter 52, right? Would you would agree that chapter 52 is a continuation, uh, chapter 53 is a direct continuation from chapter 52, right?
I mean, I have to look at it, but you're really yet to answer my question, King. I'm
Yeah,
asking
I
you a
got
direct
you.
question.
Right. I know you did, but I'm saying before we get there, I'm saying why not start where it all begins? This doesn't start way down there where you'd like to begin, and I understand why. Now, if you said you have if you said you have to look at it, then that doesn't make sense to me because why wouldn't you understand what's going on in the text already?
Okay. You're asking me if Isaiah 53 is a direct continuation of Isaiah 52. When
Right.
throughout the book of Isaiah, different chapters go into different things. And he can be talking about Sennacherib and him invading Israel in chapter 17 or something, and then in the very next chapter go into something completely different. So just because numerically 53 follows 52 doesn't mean that what's written in chapter 53 is emphatically continuing from
Yeah,
what 52 says.
I definitely agree with you.
All right,
And
then.
that's not
So can you answer my
that's not
question?
no, that's not my premise though. But what I'm saying though is that 53 is a question, right? 53 and 1 is a question, right?
If you said 53 and 1 is a question,
Right.
yes, it is. But
Okay. So
but I
go
asked
ahead.
you a
What was you
question. Okay,
No,
I
I'm saying,
understand
but
that.
that's why I'm saying if we start at the beginning, why would we go to the middle of this to get to the answer,
Oh,
right? Because we have to establish what's going on in the beginning of the chapter to get to the middle to see what we go. What you asking me questions about? Seems to me you don't know who's asking these questions at the beginning of the chapter.
that's what
Do
it
you
seems
even know
to
who's
me.
asking this question?
Yes, I do. But these are things you're saying. It seems to you. Okay. Well, it seems to me that you have an issue with answering direct questions.
No, I
So,
don't.
so if you don't, if
I
you
think
don't,
it's logical to start at the
okay, I
beginning of the
understand,
chapter.
and I don't have an issue with reading verse 1 on down. I really don't. But I think it's unfair to act as if I'm completely reading this out of context when I literally
You
asked
are.
you after you. Okay, cool. You stated your premise, which is you believe the suffering servant in Isaiah 53 is the nation of Israel. If that's the case, I need you to reconcile your position with what verse 9 says when your own admission, you admit that Israel has done no violence. Sorry, Israel has done violence, yet this servant in Isaiah 53, who you say is Israel, has done violence.
This is, yeah, I got you. And that's a fair
I
point.
need you to directly
That's a
answer
fair
that, though.
point.
Not
What
roundabout, directly answer
I'm
it,
not
please.
roundabout in anything. I'm asking you, why is it that we wouldn't start at the beginning of this chapter to establish who is doing the talking in these verses? You
Okay.
don't think that's important?
Okay. How about this? I'll extend this olive branch. You establish who is talking in the beginning of the chapter, and then go to verse 9 and reconcile your understanding with what's written there.
So, so what I'm saying is that
No, 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 no. Can you
when
do
you look,
that, though? Because that's what you're
yeah, yeah,
raising a
yeah, for
complaint
sure,
about.
for sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you look at the endings part of chapter 52, you see that there's a conversation going on that involves the nations, right? And in that, I think it's verse 10, maybe, where it says that the arm of the Lord would be revealed to the nations, right? It says that. So when we get to chapter 53, and we're talking about who the arm, to whom will the Lord or arm of the Lord be revealed, we've already established that this is the nations that are speaking. So with that understanding, you now know that no, Israel didn't have any deceit, although they were sinful. They didn't have any deceit when it came to the nations, right? That's what, nor did they do any violence to the nations, right? That's why when you read, and I'm lacking a recall for where the scripture is, but where it says that, well, let me scratch that. But this is where we see how Israel is going to be a light to the Gentiles. That's what we're looking at here in Isaiah chapter 53, right? So these are building up to what is to happen in the end times when the nations are going to be subservient to Israel, right? I
Okay.
don't know where we're getting Jesus out of this, right?
Okay.
Because yeah, right. So you singled out the fact, maybe, and I'm assuming this, I could be wrong, but a lot of people are taking this stance based on a few major things from their side, and that's one, that this is singular type verbiage, which is a false reasoning, because we know that earlier in these same Isaiah writings, I think it may be chapter 43 or 42, where it says, "You are my witnesses and my servant." So it says, "You are my witnesses," plural. Then it says, "and my servant," singular, right? So when we get to 53, Isaiah expects us to have a full understanding of who the servant is.
Right. But you just conceded earlier that one servant contextually in the book of Isaiah can refer to a individual. For example, Isaiah himself. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
I
Right.
do.
Right.
Go
So
ahead.
if you acknowledge that servant in the book of Isaiah, it can, and I already
Well,
granted. Okay.
David was called a
I
servant as
understand.
well. So I would have, I
Exactly.
don't, that was
Exactly.
never an argument. That was
Right,
never an
but
argument.
you're turning it into an argument,
No, I'm
because
not.
you are, because you're trying to use it as a talking point. You're trying to
Well,
say that when
go
it
ahead.
says servant, well, you're trying to make this an individual when that doesn't make any sense, because earlier we see Israel being called the servant. But according to your own admission, David, in I think it's Isaiah 37, is called God's servant, and Isaiah himself is called God's servant. So there are
Right,
times contextually in the book of Isaiah where servant does mean an individual. You're now
right.
projecting and force fitting your understanding of servants on Isaiah 53. And
No, right.
you are, which is why you're having an issue with reading Isaiah 53 and doing a bunch of eisegesis.
No, no,
because
I'm not really.
you are.
So
Hold on,
so
I'll
check
let you
this out.
speak. One
Go ahead.
second.
Go
So
ahead. You're right.
in verse 9, he, the same servant, made his
Mhm.
grave with the wicked. So you're positing the nation of Israel died with the wicked?
No, that's not what I'm saying. And
Okay, so
again,
who is the he?
these are poetic type writings, right? They're not really like literal writings. It's like poetry. So when we see these things, we still have to keep that in mind. But I'm noticing that you're dodging what I was saying earlier about this being about the nations that are speaking, right? And you keep running back to a
I'm not
point
dodging
that
anything.
you cannot prove about singular language, right? You want this to be singular, but Isaiah has already established who the servant is. No, so
But
you
why are
can't
you? But hold
bring
on.
up, hold up, you can't,
Right.
I,
Why you keep
you
doing that though,
can't bring,
brother?
but you, because you try to bring up David, which I brought up, but you also brought up Isaiah and use those for examples. But the problem with that is that Isaiah's not talking about none of that. He has a theme
You're
that
asserting
is
that
being
though. That's an assertion.
no, no. I'm saying, but you use that as a talking
Watch this.
point to
Does it
say that.
say
See,
that Israel's the servant in Isaiah 53? Yes or no?
you said what now?
Does it say Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 53 that we're reading that Israel's the servant? Yes or no?
No, no, it doesn't.
Right. So you're asserting that. That's an assertion.
No, I'm not. This is
How is
why
that
I'm
not an
not,
assertion? It
and this
doesn't
is why
say
I'm gonna
that.
tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you're reading the text in English, yeah, that makes sense. But in Hebrew, right, you won't notice a name change unless you have a narrative change.
What?
So I'm, I'm, I'm telling you. So when you see a servant that was spoke of earlier in a text, right, unless you explicitly see something different that was changed, then you assume the same servant that's moving forward. It doesn't change. Like, where would you get a new servant from?
It's okay. Thank you. You asked the question because we see this servant juxtaposed from the nation of Israel. We see that in verse 12. Therefore, will I divide him. Contextually, it's the same him, he that was spoken of throughout the whole chapter with
Uh-huh.
the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he had poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many. So this is the verse I'm looking for. It's verse 8. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living for the transgression of my people was he stricken. Who are God's people contextually in the book of Isaiah?
Who are God's people?
Yes.
Well, God's people is Israel.
Okay, beautiful. And
But
so
that's
it's
not. But where
you
does that
asked.
say that says God's people?
Okay, it says, "For the transgression of my people was he
Okay,
stricken."
who's the my? Who's the my there? Who's my?
Whether or not you want to say that's Isaiah or God, both cases it's still
No, I
Israel.
want to say who it really is. No, it's not Isaiah or God.
Okay,
What are
who
you
is it?
talking about?
Okay, cool. So who is it?
It's the nations. That's why it's important to read the previous chapter,
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm trying to understand. So when you're saying he was cut off out of the land of the living for the transgression of my people,
right?
who's my right there?
The nations.
The Gentiles?
Yes.
Okay. So Israel was taken from prison and from judgment. And who shall declare Israel generation? For Israel was cut off out of the land of the living for the transgression of Israel's people was Israel stricken. And apparently, and Israel's people is not the people of Israel, it's the Gentiles.
No, you're adding all of these different
No, I'm
names in
taking
there.
your position and
No, no,
inserting in the
no,
text,
you're
and you
not.
see how you immediately disagree with it because it sounds
No, no, no,
loony.
you're not, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like you're taking it and you're desperately reaching to try to make your point.
Okay,
What
let me read it
the
one more
my
time.
people?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. It says, "For the transgression of my people was he stricken." Who's speaking in verse 8?
The nations.
Okay, so the Gentiles are saying, wait a minute. So the Gentiles are saying, Israel was taken from prison and from judgment. And who shall declare his generation? For he, Israel was cut off out of the land of the living. So Israel, the nation of Israel, died for
No, so yeah,
the
but
nation of
that
Israel died for the Gentiles.
the word there does it. The word that's there can mean somebody died, but it doesn't have to mean somebody died, right? So I don't stand that this is talking about somebody died here.
Okay, so Israel was metaphorically or was struck down.
No, they
Something
was
bad
cut off,
happened to
cut off,
Israel.
yeah, cut off from the land of the living, like that type of verbiage,
Okay.
right? Because they was removed from the land of Israel, right? That's why in the end was
Okay.
or is Israel prophesied to be a nation of priests?
Yes.
Okay, and that's to the Gentiles, right?
Yep.
So do you see in the scriptures of Isaiah? I mean, because I'm just trying to see where we do agree.
Yes.
So, do you see in Isaiah where it says that the Gentiles will be will realize that Israel is the true people of the Most High and start there immediately realizing the conundrum that they're in, so to say.
I mean, I guess. Let me just because I answered three of your questions back to
Israel
back.
bound.
Now,
Let
I'm
me
just
Wait,
let
trying
me
to see if we
one
agree on
second.
let
most of
me
this
ask
stuff.
Israel bound.
Yeah,
Let me just make sure I'm walking with you. You're saying the
go ahead.
servant is Israel, right?
Uh, Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So in Isaiah 49:3, it says, "And it said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel."
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let me just be transparent with you. We do believe in the Ezekiel 40s and 50s it's interchangeably used, the servant, as a singular person and then all of Israel. You disagree with that though, right?
Hold on, let me wrap my mind around what you said. You said in the latter part of Ezekiel
No,
that
it's
you were
Isaiah, excuse me. Isaiah,
Isaiah.
yeah, in the 40th chapters and the 50th chapters, when it's dealing with the servant, we do agree that Israel as a whole is the servant, but then within those chapters, there is a singular person who is said to be the servant. You don't agree with that though.
And okay, like in which example though? Because I know Hasad gave example of singular servants. He gave Isaiah himself, but I don't hold that Isaiah is speaking about himself here in these chapters.
I
Okay.
got a. I got a
So,
question.
for example, let me just bring out these two parts, and I'll give it back to you guys. In Isaiah 49:6, it's talking about the same servant. He says, "And he said, It is a light thing that thou should be my servant
Uh-huh.
to raise up the 12 tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel." This
Right,
servant is supposed to raise up the 12 tribes of Jacob and the other Israelites. So, who would
right.
this servant be?
It's the same servant, right? Israel, the context and the subject never changed. It's
Okay,
still
so this
speaking
is
about Israel.
Israel
It's an
raising
internal
up
job.
Israel.
It's an internal job. Yeah.
Okay. Now in verse 8, so do you believe we're in the new covenant yet?
I think I agree with y'all on that part.
Okay, so we're not in the new covenant yet. Good. So in verse 8 it says, "Thus saith the Lord, in an acceptable time I have heard thee, and in the day of salvation I help thee," talking about the servant,
Hold on,
"and
where
I
you at,
will,"
priest?
Isaiah 49:8.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
It says, "Thus saith the Lord, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in the day of salvation have I helped thee, and I will preserve thee and give thee for a covenant of the people."
Hmm.
So, are you telling me that Israelites are going to be the covenant for other Israelites?
No, so no, a covenant of the people. Who do you think the people are there?
The Israelites,
Okay, are you contextually based on what?
based on the fact that is this servant is being used as a singular person and
Okay,
juxtaposed from the Israelites, unless you want to say that this is Israelites being a covenant to the Gentiles. What covenant is this?
okay. So do you believe that is a covenant was made that, or do you see that that Israel being a light to the Gentiles as a covenant?
No.
I believe
That's
that's
a
covenantal
mission.
language. We can agree, or I mean, we can disagree, but that's my position.
Okay. Well, let me just say this last thing.
Okay.
99% of the time where you get the phrase the people is talking about the Israelites.
Okay.
So,
What scripture, that was in Isaiah 49:8, you said?
yeah, watch this. That was 49 and 8. And then the proof text is Isaiah 42 and 6. Look at what it says. It says, Isaiah, watch how the covenant is for Israel and then the light is for the nations. Isaiah 42 and 6. I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness and will hold thine hand, talking about this servant, and I will keep thee and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. So the Israelites get the covenant, the Gentiles get the light, but it's saying that this servant is for a covenant for Israel. How's Israel a covenant to Israel?
Um, I'll concede that. I'll concede that. I will concede that. Yeah, I would say that that's geared towards Israel, not the nations, in that aspect.
Okay, so who's this person that is going to be a covenant for the Israelites?
Okay, what scripture are you at now?
Isaiah 42 and 6. And you guys can take it from here.
Who is the people? What you say? Oh, let me go there first. Isaiah 42:6.
Yeah. So this is why we're saying that we do see a singular servant and then we see a plural servant, one being Israel, one being an individual person who we believe to be the Messiah, because it's saying God is saying He's going to give this person for a covenant of the people, and then also give him for a light to the Gentile. And we don't see no other
Uh,
eschatological covenants being made with anybody outside of the new covenant.
I'll give you that. I will give you that. That it doesn't explicitly say anything about it being a covenant. So I'll concede that point.
Okay,
And
I'll give
I'll
it back to
concede,
you guys. Go ahead.
and I never was an argument that, you know what I'm saying, that there was not singular language applied to uh servants either. That was never the argument. I'm just speaking from the context of Isaiah 53.
Okay. One of the things you said about Isaiah 53 in verse 8, when it says that Israel was cut off out of the land of the living, you posited that
Oh,
that's talking about Israel getting kicked out of the lands. Yes?
right.
Okay. It says, for the sins of my people. And you're saying that's for the sins of the Gentiles?
Yes.
Okay. The issue with that is that nowhere in the Bible does it say Israel gets kicked out of their lands because of Gentile sins. In fact, it says the literal opposite. For example, in Leviticus chapter 18, it says in verse 26, it says, you therefore shall keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit, and you, meaning the Israelites, shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourns among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. Here's the point, that the land spew not you out when you defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. The Bible says that God kicks Israel out of the land when they sin, not when Gentiles sin. So I'm not sure what you're talking about in Isaiah
Wait,
53:8.
hold up, wait a minute. So what I'm saying is that, okay, so maybe you missed what I was saying, or maybe I misrepresented what I was trying to say. So so when we talk about the nations, right, that's a little further. That's a little further. Well, actually, it starts in, like I said, in chapter 52. But when you get down into Isaiah chapter 53, that's why I wanted to start there so that we can parse through this, right? Because I did mistakenly say something that I didn't intend. But once you understand that this is the question is being asked of the nations in the previous chapter, then we flow from there and we can parse everything out from there. And then you'll see it from that point, right? That's why I don't want to start in the middle, because this is nowhere, and at no point do we get that this is referenced back to a singular individual, right? That's never been represented from the time Isaiah started saying Israel was the servant, plural. Never did he go and say that the servant was singular between that point and this point we're at right now.
You're just talking at this point. You're talking just to talk. How do I
That's
know?
what you're saying because
No,
you're
well,
not
that's
answering the question that I
what.
asked you originally about
Right.
who asked the
I've
question.
answered. I've answered every question you've asked
No,
me.
the question I
You're
asked you
not.
about
You're
who
not. You're
asked
not.
I
You're not
asked you who
interacting.
asked the question in
Right.
53 and 1.
Right. You're interacting with. You're not interacting rather with verse 8 in the clear contradiction with your understanding and verse 8. You're positing that in verse 8 it's the Gentiles speaking, and it's speaking about Israel getting kicked out of their land because of Gentile sins. For whatever reason, you're refusing to respond to the verse that says Israel gets kicked out of their land when they sin, not Gentiles. Can you please respond directly to that?
No, I'm saying Israel was kicked out of the land for the sins that they committed. Yes. But at
But
the end of the day, this was ultimately a lesson to them for following the nations, for idolization, for doing all of these things against the laws that led them into captivities under these nations. That's why when you see the language that was spoken about them being punished above what the Most High said forth, that the nations took the
okay.
dealings a little too far,
So you
right? So they
retract
were
your previous exegesis of verse 8.
of verse 8. That's what I said at the very beginning of what I said when I said that's why I wanted to start at the beginning because I wasn't looking at the text directly.
So okay, so just for the record then, you are retracting your initial answer.
You said what? Yes, yes, for sure.
Okay, so now let me read it again then. In verse 8, he was taken from prison and from judgment. The he is who?
Hold up, let me get here right. So I got to get to. Hold up, wait a minute. Give me 1 second. Actually, give me like 15 seconds.
Do you want? I mean, I can read it for you, brother.
No, I want to pull it up just so I don't get sidetracked again from everything. Just 1 second.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I do retract that earlier statement of 53 and 8. And
Okay.
we got the nation speaking through 53 and 6.
Okay. So just to read it again, since you retracted your previous statement, in verse 8,
Mhm.
he was taken from prison and from judgment. Who's the he?
We in verse 8,
Yes, sir.
Israel.
Okay. And who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the lands of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. When it says my people, what people is that referring to?
That's going to be Israel.
Okay. So here's when you were asking earlier about there's nowhere where this says that there's any singular, and you made mention of the fact that Isaiah does speak about the nation of Israel as a collective, as his servant. And where do we see it being spoken of as anything but that, but rather a singular person? Here's where. In Isaiah 53 and 8, we see someone being killed on behalf, they're being juxtaposed from the nation of Israel as a collective.
Okay.
Unless
And the
you're
verse
going
you
to,
speaking on now, hold up. And the
I'm
verse you
almost
speaking
done.
on now, just
I'm
hold up.
almost done.
And what
I'm
verse you
almost
in
done.
now?
I'm in
I just
verse
want to
8.
go to the
I'm in
verse. That's
verse
all
8.
right.
I'm in verse 8. I'm in verse 8.
Still in verse 8. Okay.
Yes. Unless you're going to posit that Israel was killed for the transgression of Israel. Is that what you're saying?
No, I remember I said earlier, I'm not holding that that's saying that anybody was killed.
Okay. Whatever killed, cut off, whatever, however you choose to interpret it, you're saying this is Israel being cut off for the transgression of Israel.
Yes.
So, okay, why do you think the author of Isaiah 53 uh, was consistent in his writings? of Isaiah 53? Like, do you
Sure.
think he? Okay, he's consistent. If he's consistent, why wouldn't he just say? Because he clearly knows how to say he, referring back to the same suffering servant throughout the whole text. Why wouldn't just say he was cut off out of the land of the living for his own transgressions? Why would he say for the transgression of my people? If it's the same, if Israel's already the servant, and it's the same he throughout Isaiah 53, why do that? Why cause that confusion? Why not just be consistent?
And you're still speaking about the he verbiage, right? Or the singular verbiage. Why wouldn't he just make it to where we understood that it was plural? Is that what you asking me?
It says he was taken from prison and from judgment. Then goes on to say, for the transgression of my people was he stricken. If he
Right.
simply just means the nation of Israel, why wouldn't it just say he was cut off out of the land of the living for for his own transgression? Why would it juxtapose the he from God's people?
Well, because okay, so because I still hold to that the language is still speaking from a singular sense, like the example that we gave earlier in Isaiah with Israel being called the witnesses and the servant, both
Yeah.
singular and plural.
Okay. You didn't get the question. It's okay, brother. Go ahead, Kayala.
I don't see. I mean, I don't know what you're asking me then.
I know, brother. I know. It's okay.
I mean, yeah, Priest pretty much addressed the question that I was going to ask him, and then he retracted his statement in regards to Isaiah 53 talking about or being from the perspective of the nations, which is kind of the other thing that I wanted to address. So since he retracted that, I don't have
I
nothing else
retracted.
to
No,
say.
I don't. Hold up. Wait. No. Stop. I didn't retract it. What? That's what he did. Ran and said I retracted that. Yeah. He didn't want
Well, he didn't run from anything. You admitted that you were retracting your statements about Isaiah 53 and who it was about initially because
No,
you weren't looking at
no,
the
I didn't
text. So,
retract. No, I retracted what I said about that particular verse that Hasad was speaking on. I
okay,
still
so
hold that I still hold that this is Israel being spoken of as the servant,
okay, so Isaiah
which is
53.
what the
Oh,
point was in the first place, right?
all right, brother. So Isaiah 53 is from the perspective of the nations, is what you're saying?
No. Well, so it just depends on what portion of it. When you look at the first portion of it from 1 through 6 at first, that's why I said I retracted because I said 1 through 8 at first, but I wasn't looking directly at the scripture.
Mm,
That's what I retracted. But 1 through 6, I'm saying is a continuation from chapter 53. I mean, I'm sorry, from chapter 52. And when you get to the bottom of chapter 52, maybe starting at verse 12 through 15, I think is the length of that seven. It shows you the interaction going on between the nations and the Most High and what's being revealed to Isaiah about the
okay.
nations.
Oh, okay. So for the record,
Would you
so
agree about that in
so
Isaiah
so for the
52?
so for the record, you believe that,
That's not.
I just want to ask you this cleanly. Do you believe that Israel was wounded for the transgressions of the Gentiles?
Yes.
Hmm, interesting. Okay. And you believe that by Israel being punished, the Gentiles are healed?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Uh, I
Do you
don't
believe,
want to touch I don't want to touch
do
that
you
with a
believe,
10 foot.
do you
I don't want
believe
to.
that, do you believe that the nations will be healed by the Torah and the new covenant that the Israelites will be under.
The Torah and the new covenant that the Israelites will be under have nothing to do with them being wounded, nor does
No,
it
I
have
ain't say
anything.
wounded. I ain't say wounded.
Okay, but the reason why I'm addressing wounded is because Isaiah 53 and 5 specifically talks about them, of the Israelites being wounded,
Hmm.
right, for the transgressions of being wounded for the transgressions. So if you're saying that Israel is going to be wounded for the transgressions of the other nations, then you'd have to show that because, like Hassan went to in Leviticus chapter 26, it specifically tells you that we were punished and uh, put to punishment for our own transgressions, not the transgressions of the nations.
Right, I got you. I'm saying that, but ultimately, when we look at the whole, I think Isaiah is more of a big scope, well, at least in the portion that we're discussing now, it's more of a big picture type of lens that we're looking through. Like some of it's like speaking prophetically, right? You agree on that at least, right?
Yeah.
In this portion that we're speaking of. So when we get to parts where it's talking about, or like when we get to Isaiah 60, the early 60s, like 61 and 62 and all in there, where it's saying that the nations are going to basically get judged by the Most High, right?
Okay, but I mean, brother, you to with all due
All of,
respect,
my
you're
point is,
jumping to
no, I'm not,
jumping
I'm
to
not,
chapters that
I'm
have a
making a point. I'm
completely
making a
different.
point. Listen,
I
I'm
understand, but
not
you
because
jumping to.
I'm not, bro. Listen to me. The reason why I'm asking you that is because when I mentioned Isaiah 52 and I think verse 10, it says that the arm of the Lord would will be revealed in sight of all the nations, right? We agree there too, right?
If you could make your point, brother.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying this is if it's talking about the nations. It's funny how Isaiah 52 is talking about the nations, but people who believe in Isaiah 53 being a Messiah is they never bring up Isaiah 52 or talk about the nations, right? Right. We know that chapters and verses are inserts. They were not originally there. So we was just looking at the text
Like what?
as it was originally there. Though
Like
those
what?
two chapters would go directly together, chapter 52 and chapter 53.
What verses particularly are inserts?
No, I ain't say inserts. What I mean is that the numbering system and the chapter breaks, those are
Hmm.
superficial, so to say.
Okay,
Meaning,
but
if we
brother,
was reading, go ahead.
if I'm addressing and I'm addressing Isaiah 53 and 5 specifically, right, where it talks about the wounding for the transgressions of someone or some people, being bruised for the iniquities of someone, some people, being
Mm-hmm,
healed by the stripes of someone and some people.
mm-hmm.
Can you go into the Bible and show us where the other nations are healed by the Israelites being put to punishment?
No, because that's prophetic language. Is that prophetic
So,
language to you or no?
brother, I just asked you a question. You said
Is
no,
it
you can't.
prophet? Is it prophetic or not?
I, I just want a little clarity on the answer, real quick. You said no,
It
you can't
depends on
go.
whether you believe. Do you believe it's prophetic or no?
Brother, you answering my question with a question.
I'm
I'm
not. No, I'm
asking
right.
you.
Okay, so let me tell you why. I'm sure priests might know. Everybody acting like they
I
don't know what
didn't
I'm talking
catch your
about.
answer, so I'm
If
asking you
it's
for
not
clarity on the answer, brother. I'm not
okay,
asking you
if
to. It's a
go ahead.
simple yes or no first, and then you can go into whatever it is you want to go to. Can you go into the Bible and show where the other nations are healed by Israel being put to punishment?
I believe that Isaiah 53 and the verses that we speaking on are prophetic. So no, this is something that's yet to happen.
Okay, so you're saying that the Israelites will be punished and the other nations are going to be healed by them
No,
being punished.
no, Israel's already has been punished. And then what's coming is the nations getting their judgment. It's going to be their turn. And they're going
Okay,
to
so how
realize that and the beat down is going to come, the smackdown is going to come, and everything will be put in place in the end times. This is basically what this is leading up to.
okay, so if the nations are going to be if Israel's already gone through their punishment and then the nations are going to go through their punishment, how does that fulfill Isaiah 53 and 5 where it says that by our stripes, according to you, they're going to be healed?
Listen, because because some nations are going to get destroyed. I know you believe that.
That's definitely not a healing.
Right. So, because they're going to get destroyed. I agree. So,
So so that just goes to further show that Isaiah 53 and
so the nations
5
that
doesn't
don't
talk
get
about them.
destroyed, so the nations that don't get destroyed, they're going to receive a bit of grace.
because we suffer the punishment, is what you're saying.
Well, ultimately, Israel was always ordained to be what they're going to be in the end times, and that's a light and a nation of priests to the Gentiles. I don't think you're going to argue that. This is
Mm,
what they were supposed to be from the very beginning.
Brother, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
Well, that's how you see it. That's fine.
Mm. All right. I don't have nothing else for the brother.
Right, because when I asked y'all about Isaiah 53 and 10, nobody wanted to answer where Jesus got seed from. Why nobody answer that question?
That's easy, bro. Let me
No,
get
it ain't.
Ezekiel. Yes, it is. Let me get Ezekiel
46.
46.
Con.
Yeah, let's get Ezekiel 46. You asked the easiest question, bro. That's like, I don't know
Okay.
what's softer. That question, ice cream, yogurt, or butter. Uh,
Hey,
You want verse 14?
yeah, let's read all the way to 16, I think.
I mean, Salaki there. That's what I was saying. 16.
Hmm.
This is Isaiah 46 and 16. It says, "Thus saith the Lord God, if the prince give a gift unto any of his sons, the inheritance thereof shall be his sons.
Mm,
It shall be their possession by inheritance."
wait a second.
wait.
This
That's what I'm
prince
about to
is
say, Chris.
above the Levites. He get to go into the gate of the temple that the Levites can. He literally is the only one on earth when this
Right?
kingdom's built that gets to
Hmm.
eat in a specific chamber of the third temple. Not
And
even
who
a
is it?
high. This is the prince. This is the Messiah.
Hold up, wait a minute. Hold up, Chris. See how you try to slide that in on me right quick like that?
Yeah, nobody's higher
Yeah,
than him.
how?
Who is
Hold
it
up,
then?
okay. So I'm saying like it's the prince, right? It says the prince, but let's not. I would okay. Look, I'll be fair. I'm not going to try to hold you to semantics and say that has to say this is Jesus or something like that. That would be foolish, right? But what I'm saying is that if we're saying this, if we're going to say that this is who you're telling me it is, then then why is he being called the prince? He's supposed to be king, right?
Hmm. Yeah, but it's just it's a title. It's still a ruler. So when you read Ezekiel the 40th chapters, nobody's higher than this individual. He gets the
I
palace,
can
he
rock
gets
with
his
that.
land, he
I
gets
can
the
rock with that.
palace, he gets his own land.
I can
He
rock with
does
that.
things that the Zadokites, the high priest, can't even do. I
I
believe
can
in
rock with
certain
that.
places it does call him, it possibly calls him the son of God, but
I
I
don't
have to
think
look it
so, but
over all
I
the
don't think
40th
so, but I
chapters.
can rock with you on that.
Yeah, so
But
our
but here's
stance is that he is, so there's two ways there's two understandings, and I like both of them, of he shall see his seed. There's spiritual seed, because John chapter 2 says that the followers of Christ become his spiritual seed. And then there's his actual seed. We believe that according to that prophetic verse, the Messiah will be having children in the kingdom.
I want to stick to your second definition because that's what you
Hmm.
gave me first.
Hmm.
But but so somewhere between the cross and this new kingdom, he would have had to get some seed somewhere.
No, it says he shall see his seed. So the whole context is, although he has to die for our sins without kids, he will eventually be able to have a family and kids and live again. That's why it
And,
says
and so and so
prolong.
he just came back and reinstituted sacrificing and all that.
Well, yeah, there's an order of prophecy, because according to our understanding, which I believe is the most logical and sensical, it says that he would come and die, but then certain prophecy says he's going to come and conquer. So is he gonna did he come and conquer and then fail, and now the prophecies are null and void? No, we believe that these indicate two separate comings of the Messiah. One where his mission was to come and be our sacrifice. Another mission where he comes and conquers the world and he reigns eternally on earth.
Right.
Okay, so okay, and that prophecy came from where though?
Which one?
The
Daniel
one you
chapter
just mentioned.
Micah chapter 5 says that he's going to be born in Bethlehem and then basically die or be apprehended and smitten. And then another prophecy says he's going to come from the clouds and come subdue all the world powers. So how can he be born from Bethlehem and come from the clouds? Unless there's
Right,
two separate comings of the Messiah.
right. I'm gonna have to let y'all work that out. But hey, but just to, I'm gonna land my plane here, man. I appreciate y'all letting me come up, man. I ain't
Mm-hmm.
want to try to keep the
It's all
conversation
good.
on y'all stage or nothing like that.
No, it's all good,
I
brother.
I think y'all doing a good job in altering people's mind thought, man, and thinking about things in a different perspective outside of what we agree or disagree on here.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You still in the Midwest?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm going nowhere, man.
You need to come to the
Right
truth
here.
and repent.
I did.
You need to come to into the faith and repent. What part of the Midwest you in?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Okay, yeah, we got a camp. We got a camp over there. We got a camp in Kansas City. So once you repent and get cleaned up, you still smoking with cigarettes.
Do what?
You
Still
Cigarettes.
smoking cigarettes.
you
I ain't
still
never smoked no cigarettes.
for real? You don't remember that time? It was probably 10 years ago. You came on my live stream and you was smoking something. What was that? Weed? That
So
tweed?
yeah, absolutely.
You still smoking that tweed? That's why you come into these crazy doctrines
That's crazy.
right now.
Hey, hey, would you contend that an herb that grows out of the ground is a drug?
Hell yeah. Nigga,
How?
do you know what I used to do when I was a kid? I used to steal
Probably
money from
sniff
my
paint. They
grandma.
probably just sniff
We
paint.
used to rob niggas just to smoke weed. That's a drug if you have to steal from your grandma who's dying of cancer. My grandma could have used that money to buy her pain pills. No, I needed
That,
that money for that drug I was dependent
that,
on.
that just means you was riding in a thief, bro.
Nah, listen. So you're telling me you don't feel, do you get irritable and feel some type of way and, go through withdrawals when you don't have that tweed, when you don't have your fix?
Fixes are for drugs, but I get what you're saying.
Hey,
But
Put it
listen.
down.
I won't disagree with you on some what you call it some addiction type traits that marijuana might have. But so
Somebody
okay, let
said
me let
coffee
me
and food. Yeah, we're
let me
addicted to. See, the type of coffee, yes, that can be an addiction. But the food that we eat is can be addicting too. Why? Because of the chemicals and the parasites that they put in the food. There's
right.
something, yeah. So that's something too that can cause you, like when you go through when you want to be a pescatarian or you transition all the way into a vegan. The parasites in those foods, a lot of that sugar too can definitely cause you
white
anything.
sugar, especially.
Right. So the thing is, brother, we got Genesis, Kansas City in your city. I know they moved the Chiefs from Missouri to Kansas City, so it's up now. You
It's
know what I mean?
what you mean? It's been so y'all understand. They moved the Chiefs from Missouri to Kansas,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
two Kansas City, one in Kansas and one in
one's in
Missouri.
Kansas. Yeah, one's in
Oh,
Missouri.
see, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, two
Midwest.
states. It's like
Listen, I
like say
don't know
how
nothing
say
about them
We,
Wizard of
we
Oz
got
ass states.
hey, we got brothers that live in
hey
both
hey
though. We
I
got
bet
brothers
you
that's
hey
in
priest
Missouri and brothers
you
in Kansas.
somebody do know that thought it was Wizard of Oz around these parts. Yeah,
Who?
Cali know about Kansas City. You
Oh,
know.
I know about Rich the Factor, Fat Tone, rest in peace.
Yeah.
I know
Andre, rest
about,
in peace.
yeah, I know about the gutter and the grimes down there. Even though I ain't been down there, I know some real factors from down that way. But it's still like just poverty stricken, flat land.
Yes.
Ain't nothing to do. I'm a city boy, so I
Right.
won't really get in where I fit in down there.
yeah, hey, man, hey, good looking out, man. Like I said, man, yeah, I'm still around here, man.
You still Negro only too?
I've bended
The Lord
somewhat on
working
that.
on.
I've bended somewhat. Hey, I actually wanted to talk to you about that, man. You know what I'm saying, low key. You know, I was gonna shoot you an email, real,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
get
then
with me.
at your earliest convenience, you can give me a call. Since the last time we talked, I got a visual disability, man.
Oh, for real, you can't really see like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
so
listen. That marijuana
nah,
might not be
actually,
helping.
nah. Actually, that's you know what I'm saying. That's what helped with my situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
How
I,
did
it's,
it
it's,
happen? If you
I
don't
know.
mind me asking.
it's glaucoma.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Glaucoma
priest.
is
I know
basically
somebody that could. I know somebody that could spit on the mud and put it on his eyes and help him see now.
man, I'm good.
Now we do have a natural. We do have a holistic doctor in the community that
Yeah, I
reverses a
believe
lot of
in that
stuff.
for sure. Yeah, I believe in that for sure.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I'll praise, man. I'm gonna shoot you a email, man, and shout out to you, BOS. Y'all been a real pleasant hosting stage this evening.
All praise to the Most High. You know,
Shout out to
All
the room.
praise to them.
we might keep it open. Anybody else got any questions? Peace out, brother Israel Bell. Anybody else want to come on to the stage? What's going on, y'all? It was a good debate. For those of you who don't know, they stayed longer on there. They stayed for about 45 minutes longer. Zion Lex kept spanking him. Pause. Kept spanking him. Listen, Gadal said the Targum Jonathan says that the suffering servant was the nation of Israel or the people, not a singular person. Zion Lex went the prior chapter in Isaiah 52 in verse 10, I believe, or 13. It literally says the suffering servant, the Messiah. You know when you feel bad for, you just feel bad for niggas sometimes. I don't like to see cats getting beat up on like that. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just felt bad, like, dang.
And that's
Oh,
where brothers not knowing the Hebrew does them a great disservice. And
he
that's where they keep getting tripped up.
he told him too. He said, "Read this right here from the Targum Jonathan." And Gadal's like, "I don't know Hebrew." He was like,
Hmm.
"Nigga, it's Aramaic." It was just over. It was just over at that point. I felt bad.
Yeah, when he told him, he said, "Homeboy, you punching in the air." I said, "Damn, it's bad, bad." Yeah, I definitely encourage brothers to step up their scholarship when it comes to the Hebrew and really um learning the reflexology and the morphology and the way that these words are used and rendered, because it'll definitely relying on the blue letter, right, without being able to actually go into the Hebrew, it's gonna hurt you every time. It was a good debate nonetheless, though. Very good from both sides, some interesting perspectives. We need
Oh yeah,
more of that.
Zion Lex is texting me right now. He said he wants to do a show. He wants to do a show on my channel about this debate. You know we got to do it, but I don't know if we're done with Priest Genesis mode. We could do it on the if we promote it right. If we promote it right, we could do it on the new channel. We
Hmm.
could, we could, we could. I'm out of texting. All right, y'all. Be on the lookout. The new channel was pinned to the to the to the top of this room, and I'm gonna try to get Zion Lex on the new channel so we can talk about the debate this Sunday. And then also too, we got another surprise, something major, something absolutely major that's gonna be going on the new channel. So all praise to the Most High. TGC Ministries is the new channel. TGC Ministries is the new channel. So make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. I'll see y'all Sunday on TGC, Lord willing, with Zion Lex. And then yeah, all praises, man. Appreciate y'all for popping out. I don't know, Kayala, you wanna what you wanna do? You wanna keep it going or you wanna end it?
Nah, man, we could shut it down. I think that some people need to go back and rewatch the debate, take some
Mm-hmm.
notes, man,
Mm-hmm.
study so we can continue to have good conversations and good build.
Yes, sir. All praise to the Most High. And shout out Gadal, too, because I know this room is going to go on YouTube. Gadal,
Hmm.
you know, I did a debate with Gadal, and because they begged me, he begged me, but, and they paid me, so all praises. But Gadal is not, he's not a weak opponent. He's not, he's not well rounded. You know what I mean? He's like a one trick pony. It's like somebody who has a hell of a right hand, and
He's like Deontay Wilder.
yeah. He's like Deontay Wilder. Yeah.
Hmm.
So he gotta get his all around skills up. But peace to the brother, man. He's always willing to have a conversation, so that's good. All right, y'all. We love y'all. Peace, blessings, and shalom.
Shalom.